What's the weirdest thing my grandparent convinced me was real? When I was about 8, my grandmother convinced me that traffic lights were alive. Not metaphorically, literally alive. According to her, the red, yellow, and green lights were part of a massive underground organism that lived beneath cities. Roads, she said, were like veins. Power lines were nerves. And traffic lights, those were the eyes. She told me engineers didn't install them so much as train them where to surface. If you watched long enough, she claimed, you could see them blink. She had lore, deep lore. She said the reason lights sometimes malfunctioned was because they were tired or confused. That's why you don't honk at them, she'd whisper while driving. You wouldn't yell at someone who was thinking. She insisted that late at night, when no cars were around, the lights would change colors just to stretch. I believed her completely. I'd sit in the back seat counting how long a red light stayed red, convinced that longer pauses meant it was distracted. Once, when a light turned green just as we pulled up, she nodded seriously and said, "See? It recognized us." That sealed it. At school, during a lesson on city infrastructure, I raised my hand and explained that traffic lights weren't machines. They were symbiotic organisms that cooperated with humans for safety. The teacher stared at me like I'd just announced pigeons were government drones. The class laughed. I doubled down. I said my grandmother knew because her uncle worked for the city and saw one unplugged but still blinking. My parents got an email that afternoon. They confronted my grandmother that weekend. She listened politely, nodded, and apologized for letting my imagination run away. Then later, when she tucked me in for a nap, she leaned close and said, "You didn't say too much, did you? They don't like when kids notice." I spent years thanking traffic lights in my head. I felt guilty when I crossed against them. I once cried when a light near our house got replaced because I was sure it had died. I finally figured it out around age 12 when I saw a crew install one from scratch. No blinking, no awareness, just bolts and wires. Now I'm in my 30s, and every time I'm stuck at a long red light at 2 a.m., part of me still wonders if it's just thinking really hard. My grandmother, now in her late 80s, swears she never told me any of that and says I had a very creative childhood, but she still doesn't honk at traffic lights.